The unexpected offer, Lila Carter adjusted her round glasses, pushing them up the bridge of her nose as she carefully arranged the new arrivals on the display table. The scent of old paper and vanilla candles filled the air, wrapping around her, like a familiar embrace. Bloom and Pages was her sanctuary, a small, independent bookstore tucked between a flower shop and a cafe in downtown Portland. At 24, she had spent most of her life lost in stories, living vicariously through heroines who danced at balls, fought dragons, or fell recklessly in love. Her own life, however, had been quiet. To quiet the bell. The bell above the door chimed. Pulling her from her thoughts, a woman in a tailored black suit stepped inside, her heels clicking against the wooden floor. She carried herself like someone who owned the room, chin lifted, gaze sharp. Lila had never seen her before, yet something about her felt important. "Good morning," Lila said softly. "Can I help you find something?" The woman's lips curved into a polite smile. "I hope so. Are you Lila Carter?" Lila blinked. "Yes, my name is Victoria Sterling. I'm the head of public relations for Sterling Enterprises." She extended a sleek business card. Lila took it, her fingers trembling slightly. Sterling Enterprises. Everyone knew that name. The billion-dollar empire ruled by Nathaniel Sterling. Brilliant and famously untouchable. What can I do for you?" Lila managed. Victoria studied her, eyes flickering over Lila's loose braid, her oversized sweater, the faint dusting of freckles across her nose. "We're launching a literary initiative. We need someone with a genuine love for books to oversee it. After some research, your name came up." Lila's heart stuttered. "Me? You?" Victoria's smile turned, knowing Nathaniel prefers passion over pedigree. "And from what I've observed, you have plenty of passion." Observed. Lila's throat went dry. "You've been watching me? Just ensuring you were the right fit?" Victoria handed her a folder. "The position includes a generous salary, full benefits, and creative control over the projects. You'd report directly to Nathaniel." Lila's hands shook as she flipped through the proposal. It was everything she'd ever wanted: funding for literacy programs, partnerships with small bookstores, even author sponsorships. But working for Nathaniel Sterling. The man was a legend, a storm wrapped in a suit. I'd need to think about it," she whispered. Victoria nodded. "Of course, but don't take too long. Nathaniel isn't a patient man." With that, she turned and left, the door chiming softly behind her. Lila exhaled, collapsing onto a stool. Her best friend, Olivia, burst from the cafe next door, her curls bouncing. "Who was that?" "Sterling Enterprises," Lila breathed. "They offered me a job." Olivia's eyes widened. "As in Nathaniel Sterling?" Lila nodded, still dazed. "Oh my God." Olivia grabbed her shoulders. "You're going to say yes, right?" Lila bit her lip. Never taken risks. But this felt like the first page of an adventure. "I think," she said slowly, "I am." The Sterling Tower loomed before her, a sleek monolith of glass and steel that seemed to pierce the clouds. Lila tightened her grip on her bag, her stomach twisting as she approached the entrance. She had spent the last 2 weeks preparing, reading every article about Nathaniel Sterling, practicing her pitch for the literacy initiative, even buying a new blazer that made her feel slightly more professional, yet nothing could have prepared her for him. The elevator doors slid open on the top floor, revealing an expansive office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, and there, standing with his back to her, is Nathaniel Sterling, tall, broad-shouldered, impeccably dressed in a charcoal suit that hugged his frame with sinful precision. He turned, and Lila's breath caught. His eyes were the color of storm clouds gray, intense, unreadable. His jawline was sharp enough to cut glass, and his mouth was a cruel, perfect curve that looked like it had never smiled. "Miss Carter." His voice was deep, smooth, and utterly devoid of warmth. "You're late." Her pulse spiked. "The elevator? I don't tolerate excuses." He strode toward his desk, not bothering to check if she followed. "Sit." Lila clenched her fists, forcing herself to walk forward. She had expected professionalism, maybe even indifference, but this was ice. She sat across from him, back straight. "Mr. Sterling, your proposal?" He flicked a finger at the folder she had sent ahead. "It's naive." Her cheeks burned. "Naive? You assume bookstores want charity?" "They don't. They want profit." He leaned forward, his gaze piercing. "Convince me why this isn't a waste of my time?" Lila's nails dug into her palms. She had faced dismissive professors, condescending customers, even her own doubts, but this man was something else entirely. "It's not about profit," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "It's about preserving stories, about giving people access to worlds they'd never see otherwise." She met his eyes. "Or do you only invest in things with dollar signs attached?" A beat of silence. Then something flickered in his gaze. Surprise? Amusement? He leaned back. "You've got fire," yelled. "Does that mean?" "I'm hired." His lips twitched. "It means you're interesting." Late nights and lingering touches over the next week. Lila threw herself into the project, determined to prove herself. Nathaniel was relentless, critiquing every idea, pushing her to think bigger, colder, more strategically. But late one night, as rain pattered against the windows, she found herself alone in the office with him. "You're still here," his voice came from the doorway, making her jump. She hadn't heard him approach. "I wanted to finish the budget report." He moved closer, his shadow stretching over her desk. "You're dedicated. It's important to me." He studied her for a long moment. Then, to her shock, he reached out and brushed a loose strand of hair behind her ear. The touch was fleeting, electrifying. Lila froze, her heart hammering. Nathaniel's expression darkened, as if he hadn't meant to do it. He pulled back abruptly. "Don't work too late." Then he was gone, leaving her breathless in the dim light. The next morning, Lila overheard two executives laughing outside the break room. Bet him 50 grand she wouldn't last a week. Did Sterling really hire her just to win? A bet. Lila's blood turned to ice. She stormed into Nathaniel's office without knocking. "Did you hire me because of a bet?" He looked up from his desk, eyes narrowing. "Who told you that? Does it matter?" Her voice shook. "Was any of this real?" Nathaniel stood, his presence overwhelming. "The bet was a joke. I hired you because I wanted you." The raw intensity in his voice stunned her. Before she could respond, he closed the distance between them, his hand cupping her cheek. "And if you doubt that," he murmured, "let me prove it." Then his lips crashed onto hers. Lila's world tilted the moment Nathaniel's lips met hers. His kiss was not gentle. It was possessive, demanding, a wildfire against the careful restraint she had spent her entire life building. She gasped against his mouth, her hands instinctively, gripping the front of his shirt to steady herself. His fingers tangled in her hair, angling her head to deepen the kiss. And she melted, every thought, every protest, dissolving into pure liquid heat. Then, just as suddenly as it began, he pulled away. His breath was ragged, his pupils blown wide with desire, but his expression was already shuddering back into ice. "That shouldn't have happened." Lila touched her lips, still tingling. "Why did it?" "Because I wanted to." His voice was rough. "But it won't happen again." She flinched. "Because of the bet." Nathaniel's jaw tightened. "There was no bet." "Not the way you think." "Then explain it to me." For the first time since she'd met him, Nathaniel looked unsettled. He turned away, running a hand through his dark hair. "A colleague joked that I only hired you because I was attracted to you. I told him to fuck off. That's all." Lila's chest ached. "So you kissed me to prove a point?" He turned back, his gaze burning. "I kissed you because I couldn't stop. Myself." The raw honesty in his words stole her breath. Silence stretched between them, heavy with unsaid things. Finally, Nathaniel exhaled sharply. "You should go." Lila's heart cracked. She had spent her life waiting for a moment like this, only for it to end in rejection. "Fine," she whispered, grabbing her bag. "But don't expect me back tomorrow." The walkout, Lila didn't cry. Not in the elevator, not in the lobby, not even when she burst out onto the rainy sidewalk. She was too numb. Olivia found her an hour later, curled up in the back room of Bloom and Page's, clutching a cup of tea that had long gone cold. "Case bill," Olivia demanded, plopping down beside her. Leela told her everything. The kiss, the bet. The way Nathaniel had looked at her like she was something precious before shutting her out. Olivia whistled. "Damn, billionaires really do have emotional constipation, huh?" Lila choked on a laugh. "I'm serious, Live. I can't go back there." Yes you can." Olivia poked her shoulder. "You're not some intern he can toy with. You're good at this job and that literacy initiative. It matters. Don't let some emotionally stunted CEO ruin it for you." Lila sighed. Olivia was right. But facing Nathaniel again, her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Unknown. You left your notebook in my office." Her stomach flipped. "Nathaniel." She hesitated, then typed back. "Leela, throw it away." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, reappeared. Finally, unknown. The confrontation. She went back the next day, if only to retrieve her notes. Nathaniel was waiting in her office. Her office, not his, leaning against her desk with her notebook in hand. "You're not quitting," he said the moment she walked in. Lila crossed her arms. "Watch me." He set the notebook down. I was wrong." She blinked. "What?" "Pushing you away, it was instinct." His voice was low, almost reluctant. "I don't do this. Relationships, feelings, mess." Lila's pulse jumped. "So what do you do?" Nathaniel stepped closer, his gaze searing into hers. "I take what I want." Her breath hitched. "And what do you want?" His answer was a kiss softer this time, but no less devastating. When he pulled back, his thumb brushed her bottom lip. "You." Leela didn't return to Sterling. Tower the next day, she needed space. Clarity. Nathaniel's confession eye. Take what I want had unraveled her. For a man who built empires on control, his hunger for her was terrifying in its rawness. So she went. Back to Bloom and Page's. Losing herself in the familiar rhythm of stacking shelves and helping customers. But Nathaniel. Sterling wasn't a man who accepted retreat. The messages her phone lit up relentlessly. "Nathaniel, you're avoiding me, Leela. I'm working." Nathaniel. "Bullshit." Then. An hour later. "Nathaniel, the Seattle publishers just agreed to your outreach program. They want to meet you." Her fingers hovered over the screen. It was a peace offering and a challenge. "Lila, when?" "Nathaniel, tonight. My jet leaves at 7. Her stomach flipped. "A private jet."
Olivia.
Peering over her shoulder, gasped. "Oh my God, is he serious?" Lila bit her lip. "I can't just go." Olivia shoved her toward the door. For the love of Jane Austen, wore the black dress. The flight. Nathaniel was already on the plane when she arrived, his long legs stretched out, a tumbler of whiskey in hand. Gaze raked over her the fitted black dress, the heels she rarely wore, and his jaw tightened. "You came," Lila lifted her chin. "For the publishers. Not for you." A slow, dangerous smile curved his lips. Liar. The flight passed in a tense silence, charged with every unspoken thing between them. Every time his fingers brushed hers, reaching for the same document, every time she caught him staring dark. Possessive, her skin burned. By the time they landed, she was strung tight as a wire. The dinner, the meeting, was a blur. The publishers loved her ideas. Nathaniel, surprisingly, stayed quiet, letting her lead until the CEO leaned in a little too close, his hand lingering on Lila's arm. Nathaniel's voice cut through the chatter like a blade. "Don't touch her." The table went silent. Lila kicked him under the table. "What is wrong with you?" His eyes were pure storm. "Mine." Her breath caught. Back at the hotel, Lila whirled on him in the elevator. "You embarrassed me." Nathaniel crowded her against the mirrored wall, his body a furnace against hers. "I don't share." She shoved at his chest. "I'm not yours." His hand slid to her throat, not squeezing, just holding, claiming. "Aren't you?" The elevator dinged. His floor? He didn't move. Lila's pulse hammered under his palm. Nathaniel a beat. Then he stepped back, his voice rough. "Good night, Lila." She stared as the doors closed between them. The breaking point, she lasted 10 minutes before pounding. On his suite door, it swung open. Nathaniel stood there, shirtless, his eyes blazing. "You." Lila pushed past him. "You don't get to kiss me like that. Look at me like that." And then he slammed the door shut and pinned her against it. Then what? Her chest heaved. Walk away. Nathaniel's breath was ragged. "I'm trying to do the right thing." "Since when?" "Since you." His forehead dropped to hers. "You make me feel, Lila, and I don't know how to survive that." Her defiance crumbled. Slowly, she brought her hands to his face. "Try." Nathaniel's breath hitched as Lila's fingers traced his jaw. For a man who commanded boardrooms with a single glance, he looked utterly undone, his dark hair mussed, his bare chest rising and falling too fast. Lila had never seen him like this, vulnerable. "Tell me why," she whispered. His grip on her waist tightened. "Why what? Why you push everyone away?" A shadow crossed his face. For a moment, she thought he'd shut her out again. "Then my father." The words were rough, dragged from somewhere deep. He built Sterling Enterprises from nothing. And when he lost it all, he walked out. No warning, no goodbye. His thumb brushed her hip bone. "Love is just another transaction, Lila. People leave." Her heart cracked. She pressed closer until their lips were a breath apart. "I'm not going anywhere." Nathaniel's control snapped. The fall, he kissed her like a man. Starved hands tangled in her hair, backing her toward the bed. When her knees hit the mattress, he paused, his voice raw. "Look at me." She did. "This isn't just sex." His gaze burned. "If we do this, you're mine." Lila answered by pulling him down with her. Clothes disappeared. His mouth traced every inch of her throat, the curve of her breast, the softness of her stomach. She arched under him, gasping his name as his fingers teased lower. "Nathaniel, pleased," he chuckled darkly, so impatient. Then his tongue replaced his fingers, and she shattered. The surrender after. He held her against his chest, his heartbeat steady under her ear. Lila traced the scar on his shoulder, a thin white line she'd never noticed before. "How'd you get this, Fenton?" She snorted. "Course you fence." Nathaniel rolled her beneath him, his smirk wicked. "Mock me again, and I'll remind you who owns you." Lila hooked a leg over his hip. "Prove it." He did. The morning after sunlight streamed through the curtains as Lila woke to an empty bed. For one heart-stopping second, she thought he'd left. Then she heard the shower. She padded into the bathroom, steam curling around her as she slid the glass door open. Nathaniel turned, water sluicing down his chest, and raised a brow. "Miss me." Lila stepped under the spray, kissing the droplets from his collarbone. "Always." He caged her against the tile, his voice rough with promise. "Good, because I'm never letting you go." The epilogue 1 year later, the ribbon cutting. For Sterling and Pages, their flagship bookstore literary hub was covered by every major outlet. Reporters clamored for quotes about Nathaniel Sterling's shocking transformation into a philanthropist. He ignored them all, his attention fixed on Lila as she laughed with a group of kids in the reading nook. Later, when the crowds had gone, he pressed her against the poetry shelves, his lips trailing down her neck. "Happy," murmured. Lila tangled her fingers in his hair. "Keep kissing me like that, and I'll show you exactly how happy." Nathaniel grinned a real, unguarded smile. Challenge accepted.